liberty, and justice for all.
May I get a roll call, please?
Alderman Holder. Here. Alderman Campbell.
Here.
Alderman Flores.
Here.
Alderman Galloway.
Here.
Alderman Carter.
Here.
Alderman Preston.
Here.
We have 6 aldermen present. We have quorum.
All right, wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see you all here. All right, do I have a motion or an amendment to the minutes of October 4th, 2021 regular session meeting?
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Campbell, seconded by Alderman Poston to adopt the minutes of October 4th, 2021 regular session meeting. All those in favor? That's unanimous. All right, there are no ceremonial matters, but we do have scheduled guests this morning with Show Me Christian, or this evening, pardon me, Show Me Christian County. Miss Anna Evans, floor is yours. If you wouldn't mind hitting the microphone button in the middle.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much for having me. It's good to be back with the Ozark Board of Aldermen. I've got to give some updates for Nixa and for Highlandville and for a few cities, but I think this is my first time back with Ozark, so thank you very much. I will go through our staff report and hit the Ozark related highlights, and then if there's anything that you have questions on, I will either answer it or I will make sure that I can get an answer for you. So in your packet, I believe you should have a copy of our written report. As far as Ozark goes, we, well, first off, before Ozark specifically, wanted to highlight under our business retention and expansion efforts that point to as of September 30th, which was our deadline through our partnership with the MSU Small Business Development Center, we did achieve and documented more than 200 reportable counseling hours specifically for small businesses located here within Christian County, many of those in Ozark. So that was an agreement we had with MSU SBDC, and we've been able to I was pretty proud of that. We've been able to counsel and kind of walk through some businesses with whether that's their business plans or a financial analysis or working through issues that they're having in their business. Specifically for those small businesses, we've really been able to make a difference for them this year. So I was excited about that. Mark Wallace, who is our Vice President of Workforce Development, has been pretty busy bringing folks from the region to Christian County to start looking to Christian County and some of our employers as good examples of workforce opportunities here in the region. So he was able to work with Creative Audio here in town and facilitate a tour for the Springfield Workforce Board to come down and take a look at a Christian County based e-commerce and manufacturing facility. Springfield is forming a new SGF Tech Council. So we were excited to be kind of showcased in those efforts, and they were excited about getting further plugged in here in Christian County because there's more opportunities throughout the region. So we were excited to be one of those. I know he's also been doing a lot of meetings with various folks throughout the region. I know Sherry Coker, he has met with her to go over our Christian County Works Action Plan, and again, featuring that regional collaboration. And then we've also participated in the Ozark School District's long-range planning meetings as well. So excited to be part of that. We also, I know throughout the past several months, let's see, Show Me Christian County and SimCog have been meeting bi-weekly with the consultant from our market study, and he is going to be prepared to give that final report as soon as possible. Andrea said she has seen a draft of those final recommendations and sent some feedback on that, so we are excited to be able to present the final report of that market study. Again, that was something that we wrote a grant for through SimCog, and were granted the top position of all applicants in that grant process, and they were able to facilitate a market study consultant to come in and take a look at Ozark's readiness specifically for growth in the areas of e-commerce and distribution. So that final report will be ready for us, I expect by the end of this month. So hopefully by next month, we'll be able to share that with you. And then finally, we have been meeting with the city and the county both on specifically collaborating for some regional marketing efforts and really trying to get the word out on the tourism and visitor side about what we've got going on in Christian County. We know we've got some cool stuff happening. So we have met with officials from Ozark, Nixa, and the county, as well as a videographer to start kind of working on potentially some video projects as far as marketing goes for Christian County. And then we also have been meeting consistently with the Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau for that regional perspective on our marketing efforts. The county commission actually met this morning with the CVB and approved another 5-year agreement with the Springfield CVB to continue that regional marketing effort on our behalf. So they cover Christian County, Polk County, and Greene County. Let's see, past that, we were able to hold a really cool event through our business retention and expansion efforts. We visited Clever last month and had several of the volunteers from our Show Me Strong Business Council and then representatives from the Clever Chamber of Commerce. And we basically hit the streets and were able to do a survey of Clever businesses. And we were able to hit 16 of Clever's 21 businesses that actually have storefronts that you can walk into. And we compiled all of that information into a report that finally is ready to be shared and submitted. So that was a really good event. We were able to get a lot of pretty basic data and kind of get a picture of those businesses all in one go. It just took a couple hours of one morning. So with that successful event, we are really, really excited to continue collaborating and hope to bring that same format to all of our communities across the county. So right now we're looking at the calendar and consulting with our partners on the best day to do similar events in Nixa, Ozark, Highlandville, Sparta, Clever, Billings, etc. So those are the highlights as far as it pertains to Ozark, but I would be happy to answer any questions. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Pardon me. All right, moving into first reading of bills and resolutions. It looks like the first person up this evening is Mr. Galloway.
Your Honor, I move that we place bill number 3306 on its first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Poston to place bill number 3306 on its first reading by title only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a cost share agreement for holiday lighting with Christian County and the Historic River District.
All right, Mr. Childers, do you have this one? All right.
You remember this ordinance and we need to go back and make some modifications. So shall we make some modifications for county? Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, ma'am.
The county proposed 2 additional paragraphs. Those paragraphs are paragraph 5 and paragraph 6. Paragraph 5 identifies that the county commission shall retain all interest and ownership of the holiday lights in agreement of storing, maintaining, empowering, and installing the lights for display. And then paragraph 6 adds language that says that the holiday lights will be put up at the commission's direction.
Mr. Poston?
Yeah, I had a question about insurance. These are pretty pricey. Are they covered by any of our existing insurance policies, or will there be, if not, is there going to be a new policy?
I don't believe these would be covered by the city's insurance. This new language does identify that they would be under the ownership of the county, and I'm not aware of whether the county would have insurance that covers that.
Okay. And then number 6, the one you just brought up, it actually says at the commission's discretion. Does that mean if they don't want to put them up, they just won't?
It does indicate that they have the ability to make that determination, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Galloway, anything?
Yeah, as I understand it, the county requested those adjustments to the language because they're the ones that are responsible for putting it up, storing it, that sort of thing. And I don't feel that there was an intent on the county to cancel Christmas, but I think that if they had an emergency situation, I think they just didn't want to be obligated to put it up, was kind of what it was explained to me. I don't know if Mr. Flores has anything to add to it.
I haven't had a chance to speak to any of the commissioners, but I mean, I think we might be able to put some language in there where if something was to happen or if the county didn't want the responsibility of putting them up anymore, maybe we can have it amended where we would be able to take that over, or HRD be able to take that over, other than, you know, losing them completely. But I would imagine they would be fine with that. And like Bruce said, I don't think their intention is to, you know, just stop putting them up, but I don't see why there'd be a problem having an amendment like that.
Ms. Callaway?
If an amendment wanted to be negotiated, it could be tabled tonight to allow that language to be brought forward without going back and forth between our boards, because they've already approved this at their board level.
See which one of you two guys pop up. Mr. Campbell?
Yeah.
I actually read that at the commission's discretion. I figured it was, they would decide when they want to put them up.
More of a
And-
time frame.
Yeah, what
whether
time
or
frame?
not, yeah.
And, you know, obviously, these are not going to go up until Christmas of 22. Is that correct? We're not going to get it done in time for Christmas of 21.
Correct.
Okay. The only thing I would hope they would work with us on or do for us would be have them up before we have a Christmas break, the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works with them.
I would assume that would be their goal. Mr. Callaway?
Yeah, I take in the comments of the other alder people. I just don't know that there's much left to negotiate with them. And I mean, they're not going to, as an entity, maintain and hold on to those Christmas lights and not put them up. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And if they needed to get rid of them, I think they would be coming to us for that. I think they're just trying to make it clear in the language that they own it. And I mean, I think that's fair enough.
That's great. Any other comments? Is there anyone in the audience here to speak on this bill this evening? No one online? No one online. All right. If there are no other comments, this bill will be held over till the next legislative session. Mr. Gardner.
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Gardner, seconded by Alderman Flores, to place bill number 3307 on its first reading by title only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a contract with Norton Power Systems LLC for generator maintenance services.
All right. Come on up, Mr. Parsons.
Good evening. You all might remember this. This is our annual maintenance contract, or it has been annual here lately, that takes care of all of the generators that help with our wastewater and water distribution systems. And we've got a few new people on the board, so I just wanted to quickly remind them of what we're taking care of with these pieces of equipment. Our water system, meaning wells, pumps, things of that nature. Our collection system, meaning lift stations, and different grinder pumps and things of that nature that are essential to operating a wastewater treatment plant. So if power goes down, these things don't need to stop functioning. So this is our backup for a lot of those. So that includes wells, booster pumps, lift stations, treatment plants, and the OC has one generator that we just lump under our general maintenance contract. So just to kind of give you an idea, I put a map of the roads up there. That's just to give you an idea of how spread out we are. And then put some icons up there to let you see all the different components of infrastructure that are actually backed up by generators. Last year when we went out for this, we had two bidders and we went with Central Power Systems. And the goal here is proactive maintenance. With anything of this size and this expense, you're always money ahead to make sure that you're treating your equipment properly. You'll hear the term PMI quite often in this bill and this language, or anything pertaining to maintenance programs. That's just preventative maintenance inspections. What does that cover? 22 for the 22 generators for wastewater, 7 for water distribution, 1, as we said, at the OC. We do have a combination of diesel, propane, and natural gas. So it takes a qualified entity to maintain these. They range from anywhere from 30 to 300 kilowatt. Size of the generator is completely contingent upon what you're powering up. So we've got quite a span there. The reason we're coming back to you 1 year later is we just had this under contract with Central. And it's not that we weren't impressed, it's just that we noticed that there were some hiccups with the maintenance, there was some delays in the responsiveness. So we put this back out to bid. And when we put it out to bid, there's certain criteria that we anticipate that they're going to cover. You got 30 generators, that equals 120 hours of annual service. You do this twice a year as preventative maintenance. So you spend about 4 hours per generator a year, just making sure everything's functioning properly. Because those are designed to work when everything else is not working. So they're essential. Norton came in at $15,000. Central, if you do the hourly, came in at $12,600. But I think the point of this presentation is to say sometimes the lowest bidder is not always the lowest bidder. When we did their hourly rates last year and we kind of worked with them for a while, we ended up spending nearly $35,000 with them. Yes, their hourly rates are lower, but the response times and how they react to different situations takes more time. And we've worked with Norton Power Systems in the past. So I'm providing all this information because usually it's cut and dry. The lowest qualified bidder. In this case, our staff is asking you to accept this bid for Norton Power Supply. Because ultimately, there's a lot of reasons that are included in your packet here, and some of them we've already gone over. But the bottom line, literally the bottom line, is our crew can count on Norton. And we need somebody we can count on when everything else is broken down. So put a little more info into this just because, like I said, typically we come in here with the lowest qualified bidder. So I'm asking you tonight to approve a bid, a generator maintenance contract with Norton Power Supply, simply because our relationship with them was better, the response time was better, the end product is better. So with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Mr. Gardner. So the only thing they bid on is an hourly rate, and then we have an estimate of what the total would be.
Yes, there's a kind of an industry standard for these types of generators. Again, you do the preventative maintenance twice a year, usually in April and October. And you average about 2 hours per service call out there, checking all the different components that are in your packet there. Again, it's just to make sure these things work when it.
No, I understand it. I'm sure that you've done a thorough job, and the information about Norton is fine as far as I'm concerned. I'm just curious, approximately, how much more do you think Norton will cost over Central?
So if you do the hourly, you would assume that Central would have came in at $12,600. Norton just says flat out, we're going to spend 4 hours on, estimated 4 hours. So that's $15,000 you're going to spend. So on paper, it looks like you're getting a better deal with Central. What we found out through experience is their hourly rates rack up to over $35,000. So we're saying it's more cost effective, more efficient, and a better reliability with this company. Now, could we end up spending $35,000? Absolutely. If we have a major failure or something like that, we have to replace a major component. But when speaking with the guys that really matter the most, the crew that matters the most when it comes to these types of things, which is the guys on the ground when these situations arise, they said, please go out and, talk to the Board of Aldermen about approving Norton because they're the guys that get it done.
Mr. Post.
What about parts? This doesn't cover parts. This is just labor, right? Maintenance labor.
It covers some minor maintenance things. I'm talking like antifreeze, oil, things of that nature, fuel filters, oil filters, things like that. But if you had like a major component, let's say an alternator or something went down that needed to be replaced, or a fuel injector, that would be on top of that.
Do you know if Norton stocks parts?
Yeah, that's a big component to the, Steve's already moved on. He's ready to get going. That's a big component to this, to the pros. We found that Central had a very limited inventory.
Okay, so Norton stocks. parts.
Yes.
Do we keep any parts on?
We do keep some parts on hand, and the other key component in that list is that the majority or several of our generators are generic. It's a brand. And Norton, they end up having to call Norton to even service those because they don't have the licensing and the, the contracts with generic like Norton does. So we ended up having to call them in anyways. And, we tried it for a year. We took the lowest bidder. You live, you learn. Nothing catastrophic happened. It just, we weren't satisfied.
I was going to call you, you're well aware of this, but things the way they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
So how did we come up with the $50,000 not to exceed? How does that fit into this?
So basically, like last year, we did have one major component that failed that cost us around $15,000. Typically, that just looking at the historical data and taking care of 30 of these generators, that is a good number to say, hey, if we have a bad year, 50 would be the best number not to exceed. And if it does exceed that, we would come back before you and basically say, hey, we've had some serious problems here. We've got to look at either replacing these. And then I think Ms. Calloway can expand on that too.
It's also the amount that is budgeted.
Okay, so last year we spent 35,000 with Central Power.
Yep.
But we feel the 50,000 is a good number.
Yeah, so each year we look at it's based on historical data. We look back and see how much we've spent on these, and then we try to budget appropriately. So.
Okay.
Last year's contract was also capped at 50,000, even though they did not spend it.
I got you. Okay.
Ms. Alderman. You were on.
So are we breaking a contract with Central or did it go for just a year?
It terminated. We had the option to extend it and we chose not to.
Okay. There's no financial
No, ma'am.
involved in that
No
decision.
type of penalty there.
Mr. Flores.
I would say, how many of these generators do we typically replace a year? I imagine we don't replace usually any of them.
Yeah, last year was kind of an anomaly. Not last year, but the year before. We added 2 generators for redundancy, and we replaced one. Typically, in a year, you get by just fine. Some years you get 1 or 2, and then that comes out of new equipment as opposed to maintenance. It's a different line item, and we try to put those on a schedule where you say, okay, we know these are getting to that critical point that they need to be replaced, and we put them in the budget for you all to review. We try to be as proactive as possible. We're not throwing away good generators by any means, but if we start seeing problems, we put it in new equipment. So
I will add to it that with Norton Power Systems, them being the Generac dealer, like you mentioned, they are very good with generators. And Jeff Norton has always been very responsive.
yes,
And he's very good at what he does.
yes.
So when I saw it on here, I think it'd be a wise choice.
Mr. Campbell.
Kind of following up on what you just said, on the redundancy thing. So do we have places where we have 2 generators at one location?
I'm sorry, that's probably, I didn't mean to sound like that. What we were replacing last year, or what we were improving on our water redundancy and basically reliability, was wells 6 and 11 had never had generators before. And we chose, after our DNR analysis, to go in and put generators there so that we could restock the water system in the case of a major failure of the power grid system. So.
Mr. Gardner.
This is just a little rabbit trail, but if you have a generator that rarely gets used, I know you change the oil and check it and make sure they start and all that sort of thing, but what constitutes when you replace one? Because they don't really wear out, do they?
They do over time. They do. They're just like any other motor. Eventually they will wear out. They're set to exercise once a week as well. So we fire them up. because, again, you want them to work when they need to work. And if we start noticing problems, and these guys really help us with the PMI, they come in and say, hey, you're missing on cylinder 6 or blah, blah, blah. And, it looks like we could replace the gasket, but you'd be money ahead to go ahead and replace the unit. We rely a lot on Jeff's expertise and our guys. I mean, that's what this is, or I shouldn't say our guys, our crew. I really rely on them because they're in the field working with this day in and day out, and I value their opinion much more than myself.
No further questions? All right, is there anyone in the audience here to speak on this bill this evening? Okay, no further questions. This bill will be held over to the next legislative session. Mr. Flores.
I move that we place bill 2308 on its first reading by title and description only.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Gardner to place bill number 3308 on its first reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri by repealing and replacing section 10570, wards relating to the ward boundaries for the city.
Yes, ma'am.
The city of Ozark received updated information from the 2020 United States Census in September 2021. This information is utilized to review the city's wards to ensure that we have equal distribution of our population. This is done to make sure that there's a principle called one person, one vote, and it could give rise to an equal protection claim if we don't make sure that our wards are evenly balanced. When we received the census data, we noticed that Ward 3 was larger than the smallest ward. For that reason, the Ward 3 boundary between Ward 3 and Ward 2 was amended to encapsulate a small section of Ward 3 into Ward 2. So you'll notice there's a section of yellow there at the top that used to be in Ward 2. With that, if there's any questions related to the actual calculation, I did not perform the calculations, but our planning department with our GIS department did.
Mr. Campbell.
There's been some discussion, not much that I know of, about dividing into 4 wards. Is that something that we would entertain? I really don't have an opinion on it. I guess 7,000 per ward is as far as me in Ward 3, I'm not overwhelmed with questions and phone calls, anything like that. So I'm guessing we would stick at 3.
It was a discussion that I had brought up years ago as an alderman. And just because my reasoning for it was based at that time, Ward 3 was larger than Wards 2 and 1 combined. And that was at the last time that the census data came out and we modified the wards. My reasoning for it was twofold. One of those being that you can look at the map of the city of Ozark and almost identify that there's 4 different geographic living regions: the south side, the central, the north side, and then everything on the west side of 65. And at that period of time, we did do a quick overview of the census data and the population, and with the lines basically staying where they were and splitting 3 in half, we came up with 4 equal wards. It didn't gain any traction with the rest of the board of Alderman. We didn't do it. I still think it would be a fantastic idea, but I think given the time that we have before the early filing dates that's been given to us by the state, I don't know that we would have time to do that now, but I think it would be a good idea maybe to look at it in the future. Just my opinion, and that gives a little background history of why it was discussed back then.
Would we have to wait until the 2030 census, or is this something we could bring up maybe next summer?
I believe we could bring it up at any time. It's just right now where our back is kind of against the wall, and I'll let Ms. Callaway expand on that because the filing dates and early declaration has changed from its normal time frame, and I'll let her expand on that.
Yes, the state legislature amended the statute that says the time frame for an alderperson to file for candidacy. Typically, it's 10 Tuesdays before. They amended it to, I believe, 17 Tuesdays before. So the deadline is quickly approaching. I believe it's December 14th this year. So in order to get this in place and get the information to the county clerk so they can set the precincts for these new voters, we wanted to make sure that all of that was in place for the election so everyone would know what ward they would be running for. We also paid mind to where our current alder people live to ensure there wasn't any adjustment of the current alder people because upon the amendment, they would obviously lose their office. So that is something to consider if you start revising this further.
I think I'm still on. I have had a little bit of conversation with the county clerk. The county clerk thought that the idea of going to 4 wards would be something that could be beneficial for representation, but she asked that I hold off on that thought process of bringing it forward to you guys this year, simply because she is having a difficult time even establishing the polling locations for this year. As you know, a couple of them have combined, leaving the North Elementary School and going to James River, which has caused a huge amount of people going to that particular polling location. She also has a couple others that are in question of whether or not she's even going to be able to use. So she had asked me to kind of hold off on even bringing that forward as an option, simply to allow her more time to be able to do her job effectively. Mr. Poston.
Do these, the people that are being moved, do they get notified or they just see it on their new voter right?
They will be notified either by virtue of our posted agenda that had this information in the packet, but there was no individual mailing given to them. They will receive that information from the county clerk and their voter registration card.
But then it would just be their new voter registration, but it's not going to get an update saying, hey, the polling place may have changed.
I'm not sure what practice that the county clerk does with notifying them, but I would assume they would receive something in the mail. This did impact about 900 residents in 2 neighborhoods.
All right. Does anybody have any questions with regards to this bill? Further?
If we expedited it, would certainly be taking into consideration the time frame that the county clerk has, but I will leave that to the board.
Is that something you would entertain? Before you do, is there anyone in the audience that here to speak on this bill? Hearing none. Okay. Sure. I'll defer back to the sponsor of the bill. Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Poston to place bill number 3308 on a second reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri by repealing and replacing section 10570 wards relating to the ward boundaries for the city.
All right. Any further questions? Hearing none.
Move that we adopt bill 3308, ordinance 21-085.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Poston to adopt bill number 3308 as ordinance number 21-085. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Gardner.
Aye.
Alderman Poston.
Aye.
Alderman Flores.
Aye.
Alderman Alder. Alderman Galloway.
Aye.
Alderman Campbell.
Aye.
We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
Mr. Galloway.
Your Honor, I move to place bill number 3309 on its first reading by title only.
Motion was made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Campbell to place bill number 3309 on its first reading by title only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Christian County Circuit Court related to the municipal court.
All right, Ms. Callaway.
If you recall, the Board of Aldermen recently passed an ordinance to transition the municipal court functions to the circuit court. And part of that ordinance anticipated there would be an intergovernmental agreement between the city, the county commission, and the circuit court. That intergovernmental agreement was going to facilitate the transfer of the court clerk functions to the court clerk that is operated over at Christian County. The county and the circuit Court have proposed some amendments to the agreement that are substantive in nature, so they have to be brought back before the board. The changes to the agreement include that the county is no longer a party to the agreement, so this agreement is between the city and the circuit court only, and the rest of the details that impact the city in terms of the funding for the position and the fact that it will not be an employee of the city are all the same, but because we removed the party, it was necessary to bring it back before the board. Due to the transition occurring on November 1st, staff is recommending and requesting expediting this bill.
Mr. Galloway.
Yeah, I just wanted to reassure everyone there aren't any changes on our side of things. We're giving the same amount of money to help fund an employee to take on the extra caseload that comes from this transition. It's just how they wanted to put that into their budgets led to the county dropping out and the judiciary staying in and making some modifications, but there is nothing substantive that has changed from our perspective.
Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience here this evening to speak on this bill? All right, if there are no further questions, Mr. Galloway.
Your Honor, I move that we place bill number 3309 on second reading by title only.
Motion was made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Campbell to place bill number 3309 on a second reading by title only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Christian County Circuit Court related to municipal court.
All right. Any additional questions? Comments, concerns? Hearing none.
Your Honor, I move that we enact bill number 3309 as ordinance number 21-086.
Motion was made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Campbell to adopt bill number 3309 as ordinance number 21-086. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Alder. Alderman Flores. Alderman Gardner. Alderman Campbell.
Aye.
Alderman Poston. Alderman Galloway. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
All right. Perfect. That concludes first reading of bills. Moving into second reading of bills. Alderman Campbell, floor is yours.
Move that we place bill number 3301 on its second and final reading.
Motion was made by Alderman Campbell, seconded by Alderman Poston, to place bill number 3301 on its final reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An amended ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, section 215-2210, possession, sale, and discharge of fireworks.
All right, is there any further questions, comments, or concerns with regards to this bill on the fireworks? I hear none. Mr. Campbell?
Move that we place bill number 3301.
Move bill number 3301 as ordinance number 21-087.
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Campbell, seconded by Alderman Poston to adopt bill number 3301 as ordinance number 21-087. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Alderman Flores. Alderman Galloway. Alderman Alder. Alderman Gardner. Alderman Poston. Alderman Campbell. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
Mr. Flores.
Move that we place bill 3302 on its second reading by title only.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Poston to place bill number 3302 on its second and final reading by title only. All those in favor?
An ordinance approving the fee study establishing certain city fees.
Anybody have any additional questions, comments, or concerns about this bill? Hearing none.
Move that we adopt Bill 3302 as ordinance 21-088.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Poston to adopt bill number 3302 as ordinance number 21-088. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Campbell.
Aye.
Alderman Gardner. Alderman Poston. Alderman Flores. Alderman Alder. Alderman Galloway. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
All right, perfect. Mr. Campbell.
I move that we place bill number 3303 on its second final reading, title description. Second.
Motion was made by Alderman, pardon me, Alderman Campbell, seconded by Alderman Poston to place bill number 3303 on the second final reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, chapter 210, animal regulations, section 210-005, purpose and administration regarding transferring the administration of this chapter to the police department.
All right. Any new information, new questions, comments, concerns with regards to this bill? Hearing none.
I move that we adopt bill number as ordinance number 21-089. Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Campbell, seconded by Alderman Poston to adopt bill number 3303 as ordinance number 21-089. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Alderman Galloway.
Aye.
Alderman Campbell.
Aye.
Alderman Poston.
Aye.
Alderman Flores. Alderman Gardner. Alderman Alder. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
Perfect. Mr. Campbell?
I move that we place bill number 3304 on its second and final reading by title and description only.
Motion was made by Alderman Campbell, second by Alderman Poston to place bill number 3304 on a second and final reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a Show Me Zero program agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission.
Any new information, questions, comments, concerns with regards to this bill? Hearing none.
I move that we adopt bill number 3304 as ordinance number 21-090. Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Campbell, seconded by Alderman Poston to adopt bill number 3304 as ordinance number 21-090. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Alderman Poston.
Aye.
Alderman Gardner.
Aye.
Alderman Alder. Alderman Flores. Alderman Campbell.
Aye.
Alderman Galloway.
Aye.
We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
All right, Mr. Flores.
Move that we place Bill 3305 on the second reading by title and description only.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Campbell to place bill number 3305 on a second reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri by adopting a new chapter, chapter 145, regarding the open records policy.
Ms. Callaway, I believe you had a comment with regards to this bill.
Yes, I have follow-up presentation related to this bill.
The floor is yours.
The proposed language was drafted using model language that was provided by the Missouri Municipal League, because the Missouri Sunshine Law requires that all public bodies provide a reasonable written policy how they're going to handle requests for open records or requests related to meetings. So this recommended policy comes from a statewide suggested language from an organization that we are a member of, and that other municipalities also use this similar language. The city presently follows the Missouri Sunshine Law, and by adopting this language into the municipal code, it provides a clear, transparent form for the citizens to request that information from the city. Missouri Sunshine Law allows you to close certain records, and those include generally legal actions and litigation involving the city, confidential communications between your attorney and the board, the security system information or access codes to the city's real property, leasing, purchasing, or sale of real estate by the city when knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration for the property. HR files in that they would disclose the hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of particular employees when personnel information is discussed. Preparations for collective bargaining with employee groups, and operational guidelines regarding responses to or prevention of public safety events, including terrorist response plans. So those are the types of records that the Missouri Sunshine Law allows you to close, that you're already closing, and that this policy just codifies. It makes it transparent that that is what the city's intention is. If there's any questions related to what this law does and why it's being recommended by your legal counsel to enact, I'm happy to answer those.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Galloway? Thank you very much. Hearing no further questions.
Move that we adopt bill 3305 as ordinance 21-091.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Campbell to adopt bill number 3305 as ordinance number 21-091. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Flores.
Aye.
Alderman Campbell.
Aye.
Alderman Gardner. Alderman Galloway. Alderman Poston. Alderman Alder. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
All right, that concludes the second reading and final passage of bills. Moving into report of officers, boards, and committees. Mr. Childers, did you have anything?
Mayor, just a few things. I do want to say thank you to those who were able to make it to the salute to the community the other night. I really felt that the group that was in the room was a great collaborative effort, and it was nice to get together and just talk about partnership. Look, I'll be honest, it's one of the most important things we talk about. We build relationships, we work for partnerships, and we collaborate. And we just wouldn't get things done if we didn't. And it was just really, really, I think, a positive evening to work with our friends from the chamber, the school, the county, and I don't want to leave out the Ozark Fire District and the other groups that were there as well. So anyway, thanks for coming. I thought that was a good evening. Number two, I want to let you know that the search for a canine control officer is going well. We've got some really great candidates. That's a big deal for us. You know, I mean, we're transferring from one department to the other, but I think we're stepping up our game, and certainly in a growing community where we know that is always going to be something that we have to provide to the public, but that is going well. Look, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody to hear, and you hear it all the time, that, you know, staffing is an issue for all businesses, small and large. We're no different. Just because we're the public sector, actually, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for us. We can't compete on the private level a lot of the times, and to find people that want to work and serve the community in this way is just, it's exciting. So we're having good luck with that. I just want to let you know that. Number three is, we do have a non-legislative work session this Thursday from 8:30 to 10:30 here at the City Hall. Won't be at the OC this time. So we do have another one of those for the Board of Aldermen, and we'll be prepared. So that's all I have.
Perfect. Ms. Payne had a written report. Did you have anything? Yes, she does.
Sorry, it's actually not about Parks and Rec. I wanted to introduce Jacqueline. She is our new communication specialist. She's been here. Is this your 4th week? Okay, 4 weeks. It goes really fast. I can't tell. She's awesome. She actually comes from Sacramento, so she's new to the area. We've got her enrolled for Ozark Leads, and she's doing an awesome job, and I'm really excited to have her. So you might get some emails from her, and I'll make sure that you guys all have her contact, but just tag us both in it, because we're learning, and there's a lot of learning to learn about Ozark. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Mr. Smith, you had a written report. Do you have anything else to go along with it? Does anybody have any? Did you hear something, Mr. Smith?
Sorry, I missed the question. What? I'm not sure the opening date. We did have a pre-construction meeting with them, and they're going to start moving dirt soon on that site. My understanding is that earthwork contractor doing the big old tires just to the west is the same contractor doing this site. So once they're kind of done some of the work there, they'll move over to the site and start doing the dirt work there.
Perfect. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Has The space that's in Popeyes, that's for rent?
We've got an application in right now for an infill for kind of finishing out the white box of the perimeter walls of half of the space, half or south of Popeyes. So there's actually enough room there for 2 more bays of smaller. So we've got an application right now for the owner to complete what we call the white box, kind of the shell of that space, put in a divisor wall, and then we'll have an infill application coming shortly after that for a nail salon, I believe.
A nail salon,
Mhm.
wow, okay.
Mr. Childers.
Just as another exciting update, I think, we've been working for a while on a higher end apartment complex here in the city of Ozark. We don't have a lot of multifamily availability in the city of Ozark. It's very difficult for people to find a location. We just had a conversation with some of our employees this morning about that, actually, who were looking in Ozark. But I know if you want to update them just a little bit on River Run.
Yeah, we actually have 2 apartment complexes under review. River Run, which is just west of Deerbrook Commercial or south of Deerbrook Farms. It's a multi-unit, multi-apartment complex. We did have a pre-construction meeting with them this morning just for the sediment and erosion and earthwork. They are not quite fully permitted yet. They're still addressing those comments. In addition, we have another application in for review for an apartment complex east of Creek Bridge subdivision or west across the road from the old Bumstead's restaurant location. That's in the middle of review right now for permit. Both of those have several buildings on that site along with a clubhouse pool amenity feature to go along with those.
We keep it growing.
Yeah.
We keep growing. Anything else from Mr. Smith? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Parsons wants to come up and tell us all about streets. Huh? Yeah, I just added you. You had a big 2 days downtown.
Yeah,
Tell us about it.
We had a great 2 days. We're gonna have another good day tomorrow too. Saturday, we finished up all of 2nd Avenue and Elm Street with the final, what we call the wear course. That's the pretty course that makes it all look like it's finished. Today, we had a good day. We started on 2nd Avenue and worked our way north, went to 2nd Street, and we just finished up right before we walked in here. Basically, we pulled everything from Church Street and 3rd all the way up past 2nd Avenue. And we ran out of asphalt and we ran out of daylight. So first thing in the morning, we're going to finish up Church Street and then we'll jump over to 6th Street. But we did have a very productive weekend. It's starting to look finished by this Saturday, the 23rd. I tell people it's kind of like a remodeling project. You know how it all comes together at the end when you put your plants in the right places and all that stuff. But it's starting to look really good. And we're getting a lot of great compliments from the people downtown. We had a good update meeting this morning. Any of you are always welcome to come to those every Monday, 8:30. We meet, we get together, we strategize. Our next big goal is to get all of Brick Street and 2nd Avenue black base next week. So we'll get that buttoned up. And then we'll continue to work our way to the north. But it's been a busy 87 days, 85 days actually. Feels like 187. No, it's good. We've got a good group of contractors, and I will give you a full update on Thursday, and then we will go ahead and talk about what we're going to do next too with the transportation, the next 5-year plan. So it's pretty exciting.
I guess I do real quick say on
Yes.
November 4th, we have, this is a very significant problem. This doing this work extremely hard, as well as the construction crews and all the rest of the staff. I just want to say that we are going to have official ribbon cutting on November 4th. We time that with the HRD because that is the kickoff of their holiday shopping weekend. Big deal down in our town, our downtown. And so we wanted to kind of time that and celebrate that as well. We'll let you know, Samantha, and Jacqueline will be sending that information out, just wanted to mention that
Yeah.
to you. I think that's Thursday.
Yeah, it starts on a Thursday, goes through Saturday.
What time?
It's an all-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, open house. I think we're gonna do the ribbon cutting at 4.
We'll just do that like at 4:30 or something like that, so we'll have some information. I just wanted you to know, kind of put it on your calendar, that.
And while we're talking about events, you guys are getting the email updates. So, but this weekend, History on the Square, we're gonna open up the time capsule and kind of celebrate that. That's on Saturday. We'll send out some more details as the week goes on, but it's a pretty extensive event celebrating the history of Ozark. We got the Masons coming down to bless the project, and the Rain Glen is coming. Yeah.
They will be having meetings and taking away over.
Parade. So a lot of work between now and then the 31st is trunk or treat, which we're really excited about. And that will be really a way to showcase the new streets and sidewalks and all that, so.
So don't let any candy fall on the
Yep.
end of the street.
Yep.
That's the only thing I ask, any bubble gum or anything.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
Mr. Gardner.
I have heard for months that something's gonna happen on the 23rd, and I know it's a time capsule, but nothing is, that I have seen says where or when. I assume it's a county thing, and I assume it's gonna be at the historic courthouse. Do you have
Yes.
any idea what time?
I thought we had the county in our meeting this morning, Richard Teague with the maintenance, and it's gonna be held over by the gazebo. They're gonna have a tent in case there's any inclement weather. There's gonna be, I guess, a couple other booths, and there will be restrooms, and hopefully the square will look as tidy as it
Do
can.
we know
by
what
that
time?
10:30, I believe. There's a flyer.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Man, I haven't seen any.
There's a drive, and then I think the base sign, I think is at like 2 or 2:30.
I tell you what, we've got a flyer that Patty Quisenberry put together. I will email everyone that flyer.
Please do. Thank you.
Yep.
Maybe it's, I'm supposed to be there at 10:30.
Maybe that's where I'm supposed to be
Okay,
too.
so, yes, should be a great day, and we hope for great weather. So, Mr. Campbell, you have something?
Yeah, I need Mr. Parsons back up. I've got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Number one, have we done any of the, can't remember if it's like cottage stamping or cobblestone stamping that's similar to the older stuff down on?
Yes,
Have
sir.
we done any of that yet?
Yes, sir. We have nearly finished the interior square with all of what we call the brick stamp or whatever. Yeah, it's called a bonded brick stamp.
Right, that I saw.
It looks great. Now we still have to finish some of that with the finishing coat. It's basically a protectant, and it gives it a little bit of gloss and depth in the, kind of the texture. But that's pretty much done around the interior of the square. Our goal is to get that done and then work out and try to prepare for the next event and the next event, so.
But the one I was asking about in particular is, and I think it was on Second Avenue, a block or two north, where there's some existing cottage stone or cobblestone.
Oh, so that is that ledge stone that we mocked up after. So all of the, what we call the driftwood pattern that we took the sample of over here from the historic area is now around the perimeter of the square. It adds an additional 7 feet shopping area of plaza space.
So that's what that is.
That's what that is.
Okay.
It's designed to match kind of the original markings of the stone that they brought up from the Busick quarry and put over here.
Okay.
And that's probably one of the biggest thing we're getting compliments on is just that pattern and the color, and then the brick stamping, of course, and all the pedestrian amenities. So.
One more question. I've seen some comments on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And we all know that those are always true, right?
Yeah, it must be true.
I saw a comment that said something like the traffic lane going around the square now is narrower than it used to be, but I don't think that's true, is it?
Yeah, you know what's caused that feeling is that we haven't had that final layer of asphalt on there, so people have been stopping short of the curb.
Of the real stop itself?
Yeah, yeah, and so essentially, once today was finished, you get that flush with the concrete curb.
The gutter
And that
flange.
opens, yes, and that
Okay.
opens up an additional 2.5 feet, because that curb and gutter is a 2.5 foot section. So you're essentially gaining 5 feet overall. So it's designed, a lot of thought went into this, it's designed to accommodate vehicles, narrow down the driving lane, but still have it wide enough that you can drive, a UPS truck can be stopped with its flashers, you can still get around.
Okay.
So you keep things flowing, but the tighter it is, the more traffic calming and the better the experience for the pedestrian. You feel safer in that area.
So what did the two lanes, what did each of the two lanes, what was the width of the?
Oh, those were large. Those were 24 feet at least.
For each lane?
No, for both with the parking.
Okay.
And what we did was now you're down to 17.5. So you're 17.5 parking, 17.5 drive lane, 17.5 parking.
And what did the drive lane used to be? That's now 17.5.
It would have been over 24 feet. Yeah. Well,
that would be for two drive lanes.
Yes. So
my question is one drive lane.
Oh,
so we're actually widening.
Yes, we're actually, so the one drive lane would have been 12 feet. So
we're going from 12 to 17.5.
Yeah.
So a lot wider.
I promise you, once that they start pulling up onto the gutter and hitting that curb with their tire, it'll feel like it's more open in the middle.
Okay.
But we really do want it to feel like you naturally want to slow down in that area, because it's all about making the pedestrian priority.
Right.
Which is great. That's what we want to do. We want to promote people to shop and linger.
I think once everybody sees that when it's done, I think they'll be better with it. But I have seen a lot, some, not a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe even one person in particular.
Yeah.
But some comments on it.
Yeah. I think the striping will help too. That's another major component when you get the arrows on there and you get everything striped. So we're working on that as well, but it's a fun project.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Gardner.
Jeremy, just a quick question. I know we've gone to great lengths to make the area look beautiful, and it does. I can see all these pieces coming together. The one thing I noticed, because I've walked around it a couple of times just to soak it in, and once tonight before we came in, but I noticed that those metal plates, those steel plates that are on top of I guess it's a gutter where it runs through a sidewalk. Are those always gonna, I mean, as they rust right now, they're bright orange, some of them.
So they'll fade out a little bit. They're actually the same exact plates that you've got at other locations in the downtown.
Okay.
So right now they're heavily oxidizing, so it looks kind of bright orange. As they go through time, if you want, just look at the ones that were already existing.
Okay.
That's what they'll look like.
All right, good.
And those things are beautiful with time. And the great part about it is there's zero maintenance.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
All right. Board comments. Any comments? Mr. Poston?
Just something to consider, and the question for you, if it's even possible. Several years, 5-6 years ago, we dropped Robert's Rules of Order, and kind of adopted our own rules. And I know there's some things we've got complete control over, some we don't. Is calling for a bill to be read and requiring a second, is that something that if we choose that we could eliminate, or do we have to do that?
I can research that. I believe that's the procedural rules, but I can research and let you know whether you can change that. Are you wanting to remove it?
I have. I've seen others. I don't know if it's because they're charter cities or what, but the mayor has the authority to just run through the agenda. He doesn't have to ask for an alderman to have a bill read in. And that's not like it's a big deal, but that's a few minutes for every bill. So if we could dispense with that and just have the mayor go down the agenda, I'm certainly open.
It's fewer words. It's fewer chicken scratches. I'm making all my notes of who did what. Mr. Campbell.
Along with what Alderman Poston said, it seems to me, and you and Rick probably recall, I'm sorry, Alderman Gardner. It seems to me like we used to have 3 readings, but we could dispense of one of the 3 or something like that. Do you remember that?
A long time ago, it was skip the second and go to the third and final.
Okay, but now it's just worded differently.
Yes, I think it's just worded a little bit differently now. But yeah, we used to skip the second, go to the third and the final reading.
Okay.
Any other comments? Entertain a motion to adjourn? Woo, those guys are fast. All right, motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Galloway to adjourn. All those in favor?